For Artifact A1b, Developing a Growth Mindset, I selected a document that I used with my English students last year. I teach a language arts class, 11th grade, British Lit, and for the curriculum that I designed the fourth marking period, I allowed the students to kind of develop their own curriculum plan. So the attachment here is a series of reading goals that I have for my students in anticipation of the new unit that they're going to design for themselves. As part of that design, they got to choose from a list of 4 books that they wanted to read on their own, either 1984 by George Orwell, The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, Lord of the Flies by William Golding, or Macbeth by William Shakespeare. Once they selected the book that they liked, they had to pick a learning situation that worked best for them, whether they wanted to do a live instruction with their teacher, whether they wanted to study the book independently, or whether they wanted to work collaboratively. And lastly, they got to choose what types of assessments they wanted to complete in order to demonstrate mastery of learning standards related to language arts. For that selection, the kids had to pick from a multitude of assessments that allowed them to choose reading assessments, um, informational text assignments, language assignments, speaking and listening assignments, and writing assignments as well. If you look at the form that the kids had to work from, I'll click here to bring up the form for you. Again, the book choice, they got to select their book choice as part of the survey. And as an introduction to growth mindset, I had them think about why they chose the book they were reading. Some of them would come up with answers about, maybe it was a book a sibling or an older friend had read before and found interesting. Maybe they liked the context associated with the book, but they had to think about their choice a little bit. Obviously, they had to identify what learning situation they wanted to choose from, and then why this learning situation works best for them. So again, this kind of reflects on some of that growth mindset a little bit that we were talking about before by giving the kids an opportunity to figure out what kind of learning situation works best for them. By giving some investment in how they're going to learn, it helps develop a stronger growth mindset. This question here, did you review the curriculum for the book that you chose, gives the kids an opportunity, like I said before, to choose the assessments they wanted to work from. Maybe they chose the book based off of the assessments they'd like to partake in. And like I mentioned before, the language arts standards are all covered. There's 5 different categories of assessment the kids to choose from, so they had to pick assessments that work best for them. Looking at the curriculum in place, what types of assessments do you think are the most interesting or appealing? And again, I had check all those that apply, but I changed it to a long answer question because there were so many variations of assessments the students had to choose from that it was probably easier for them just to make a list. Likewise, I had them look at the assignments that they found that were the least interesting or appealing. And again, that affects their growth mindset because by giving them a variety of activities to choose from, they're going to choose activities and assessments that are geared towards interesting them most, which will give us more investment and more likelihood they'll complete. What reading goals do you have for yourself? And again, this was for the students. This could be something as simple as pacing, figuring out how many pages or chapters they wanted to read, or maybe they wanted to figure out the quality of the writing a little bit and kind of get into it a little bit. What steps do you need to take to ensure that you can stick to your curriculum plan? What problems do you anticipate having in the curriculum that you design? What are some strategies that you hope to employ that will help you navigate through your curriculum plan that you built for yourself? These questions lend themselves to growth mindset because it gives the students an idea to anticipate the plans that they're going to have in place, how they plan on tackling the text, the strategies that they would need to employ in order to make the plan come to fruition. Looking at problems that they might have along the way based off of how the curriculum is designed will give them a growth mindset about how to overcome those challenges before they get to them. Maybe recognizing some strategies that would be helpful to overcoming some of those problems, or some strategies that they used with me earlier this year that might help them work in an independent capacity on their own. Next, I asked them how they plan to include me in their independent study. The students obviously got to choose their own books and assessments. In what way do you want to include your teacher? And again, looking at the assessments that they chose would dictate how I'd be useful to them. Some of them may want to use me for a book talk so we could talk about the book and maybe talk about some comprehension things or some dynamics that are going on in the text that have some real world application. Or maybe when they're working on their assessments and are utilizing some of their strategies, maybe they'll need some help or reminders about how to implement those strategies. Lastly, I have them, what do they hope to get out of this book? And again, another open-ended question here gives the students a chance to kind of think about where they want to go with the book. And obviously, based off of what they chose, there's a bunch of different directions they can go in. But most of them have an idea about what they want to get out of the book at the beginning. If not, that's a question they can develop as they go.